Hey, what's going on? Joe Hughes, Contractor Dynamics. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the number one mistake that we see roofing companies making in their advertising and their marketing. But don't worry, I'm not here to complain. I'm not going to identify a problem without giving you a solution. So tune in to hear what this number one mistake is, how to avoid it, and learn our simple framework for tweaking your content to connect with your audience, get them to engage, and get them to give you your business. All right, Tim, what is the number one problem that we see with marketing in the roofing industry? Let's get into it.
Okay, so it is me. It's like warming up for singing. Me, right? That is the number one thing. We've been helping our students craft advertising and content. And it doesn't really matter how often we tell people, don't start your content with me. My company does this. My company does this other thing. We do these amazing stuff for you. No one cares. No one knows who you are to begin with, but they don't care about you. The crazy thing is we know this. We know it when we see it in other people's advertising. It turns us off completely. We're like, no, I don't even resonate with that. So you stop paying attention almost instantly when somebody starts talking about themselves in their ads and their content. But when we go to make content and any kind of ad, what's the very first thing we start with? Me, my company, the stuff I do, right? Not what the prospect cares about.
So marketing should be about your market, not about you. And I'm going to be the nice guy, Tim, and I'm going to assume that roofing companies, people in our industry are like, okay, it's just not knowing, right? They're like, all right, I know I need to get my content out there, get my brand out there, get my name out there. I know Joe says I need to be getting my videos out there on social media, so I'm doing it and I'm just trying it. And there is definitely some merit in that, in getting out of your comfort zone and putting it into action. So I think that a lot of this comes from it not being aware of how to structure marketing content, video content specifically. Is that what you are seeing, Tim, as well?
Yeah. We'll play good cop, bad cop. I'm pretty much always bad cop. So
that's why I went there. Yeah.
So
I'm the nice guy.
Yeah, you're the nice guy. I'm the one who is going to tear stuff apart. So yes, that is true. Getting out of your comfort zone, incredibly important. Going out and just starting is important, but a little preparation before you flip on a camera, before you start typing on your blog post, before you do any of that, you should at least think about, will the other person care about this? Right? That's like the very first thing you should consider. And then when you do make something, when you finally get up the courage and you just sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to record. And we've got some great students who have done that. Like just got way out of their comfort zone. And you can even feel like the discomfort in the video. If they just took a couple of minutes to look at that content and go, does the other person care? Like, I know I care because it's about me, right? It's my content. It's the thing that I'm trying to say. I know I care. But does the other person who's going to watch this, do they care? Is this information we're sharing something they care about? Right? That little question alters all the content, all the ads that you ever put out.
That is so important, and that can be a very difficult thing to do as someone who's been in the roofing industry or whatever industry you're in for so long. You know that so intimately. It can be hard to to take yourself out of that role and put yourself in the shoes of one of your ideal prospective clients, someone in your market who's not dealing with this stuff every day, who might only think about the roof once or twice in their entire life, and they don't know anything that you know. So you got to do the best you can to put yourself in their shoes. One of the things that we've been working on for years, I think you taught me this a couple of years ago, is this kind of heuristic of every time you hit publish or post or go live or whatever you're going to do, think about what the takeaway is, what the value is for someone that's consuming that content. Because most of the content that people are consuming, they're not paying for. It's free content. They're not paying money, but they are investing their time and attention, which are arguably more valuable than money.
Yeah. So the thing I always say is, what's the payoff? Like, if I invest my time, what's my ROI? So I gave you my attention. What do I get out of it? Like, do I walk away with a payoff? So great commercials on television, like Super Bowl commercials. Which ones do you get the biggest payoff from? The ones you find that are just hilarious. Like, right? You're just like, oh my gosh, that was so funny. Or the Budweiser ones that are just straight up tear jerkers, right? You're like, oh my gosh, like going back a few years when they did the tribute to 9/11 first responders with the Clydesdales, like, like you got to bust out the Kleenex on that one. And those have massive payoff. But it's like, oh, but I didn't learn anything, right? I didn't get anything specific, but what you got that really mattered to in those particular commercials was an emotional payoff. They connected with the brand like nobody's business because they either laughed or they cried. You don't have to go that direction, but there has to be a significant payoff when somebody consumes your content.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. And I think about that all the time. What is someone going to learn from this piece of content that I'm putting out? And maybe I lean too much on the education end and maybe not on the other end of things where people are getting like an emotional payoff, or maybe they're getting motivated or getting excited and things like that. You're talking about the Super Bowl commercials. I'm thinking about Nike commercials. We talked about Nike in previous episodes. You leave a Nike commercial, you finish watching it, you feel motivated, like, yeah, I want to go out and run, I want to go out and like try to dunk a basketball, like I want to go out and do something. You don't watch that commercial and get more educated on like how they build their shoes or like what materials go into their sneakers. You don't care. You feel like you want to go run through a wall and you're all fired up. So
yeah. So let me interject on that, because that is a fantastic point. I'm still trying to be like Mike. Never going to happen.
Sorry, Tim.
But love those commercials, right? I still remember those Spike Lee commercials. That is an incredible emotional payoff, right? I still remember those Be Like Mike commercials after all these years. And what you were saying about the educational stuff, none of those Nike commercials that we see as general consumers have anything to do with the technical side. But guess what? Nike does do ads and does do content that has technical stuff in it. Why? Because they've got sneakerheads who are into that stuff. And so they give those people, that segment of their audience, they give those people the additional stuff. What's on the inside? What's on the inside of the shoe? So some athletes are going to care about what the thing's made of. Is it going to prevent my ankle from rolling? Is it going to cushion me? Like, there's segments of their audience that care about those things. So your greater audience, they don't care. Like, they just want to look cool. They just want to feel fun. That's what they care about. Fashion. They care about just being fashionable, comfortable shoes. That's it. But then you have segments of your audience that care about the technical stuff, that will not believe the broader message that you have. They won't believe it unless you show them the specs, right? You're going to have customers just like that. So you have some content that you're going to create that the what's in it for me is just an emotional payoff. Then you're going to have the content that's educational. Here's what's inside. Right? Give them architectural details of what the roof looks like and why these particular things matter. Just like Nike will do a cross cut of a shoe and then have call outs showing you what's important about each element, right? That stuff is a different payoff. So different audiences require different payoffs.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking about my wife and I. Like, she's super analytical, so she's going to be the one that wants to see all the details. She's going to stay up till 2 a.m. doing research and checking out different resources and everything like that. So that detailed content is for her. Whereas someone like me, I'm more like, oh, I like the look of that. I like the brand. I like what they stand for. And yeah, like the quality is, of course, there. But those other things are going to appeal more to someone like me who's less focused on those details.
Right. Right.
So how do we go about that? Like, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I don't think I've ever seen a Nike commercial that's like showing the specs and things like that. So I'm assuming a lot of this stuff might be segmented on social media, on YouTube, different things like that, where they can actually target an audience that they know is interested in those things.
Super great point. Okay. TV requires a particular medium, requires specific types of commercials for them to actually be effective. Nike commercials, just go watch any TV commercial and it's just emotional. Mm-hmm. It's not educational. It's just emotional. Educational TV is infomercials. And how long are they? They're 30 minutes long, right? So to be effective as education on TV, you need a 30-minute commercial. But 30 seconds to as much as a minute and 30 seconds, it's all emotional. That's it. So you make content for the medium. So on social media, we get a lot more flexibility because on Instagram, you can have straight up emotional content. And you'll get the likes, you'll get the shares, you'll get some comments, and it'll be great. You won't get any business, but you'll get those things. You'll get social proof. You'll get the stuff that starts to build an augmented reality around you and your company. You'll get those things from that. But then also on Instagram are the people like, give me the details. Right? And you can actually go into showing me architectural drawings. You can show me crosscuts. There's a YouTube channel where they just, a father and a son, and they make millions a year. And all they do is cut things in half.
No way.
And show you what's inside. That's it. That's all they do.
Wow.
They just cut things in half and show it, and they just cut through the craziest of stuff. You can do that. Like, you're tearing apart something, you're doing demolition, cut it in half. Show me what's inside here. If there's damage on a roof or a previous contractor did a terrible job, show me. Like, go in and show me the details. Don't go, previous contractor did a terrible job. Like, that doesn't affect me in any way. Show it to me. Show me in as close of detail as you possibly can, because there's going to be some people on Instagram, just the likes. I'll just give you the likes. Show me pretty pictures. Show me pretty houses. Show me pretty roofs. Show me pretty shingles. That's it. But then the other people are going to be like, give me the goods. Show me the hidden secrets. If you understand who your audiences are, especially on social media, you get to just dominate because you can provide content for each segment and each personality type in your market.
I want to talk about that dominating point in a second, but I love the point you brought up about, can you believe what the previous contractor did on this building or on this property, on this roof? And we see that a lot. And it's like, that might be very obvious to you that the way that that previous contractor screwed something up, maybe it's a pipe jack or something that's like really wrong. And that might be good content for like a Facebook group about like a construction or roofing like that, where your peers understand what that is. But your market has no idea. They're like, oh, what's wrong with that? Like, I don't know. And similar with like damage to roofs, like wind damage or hail damage. We see this a lot. Like, wow, the roofer will be like, you can clearly see how this roof is just destroyed, or it's like there's so much damage here. And like, as a normal homeowner, like, now I can tell because we're in the industry. But like before this, it looks okay to me. Maybe a little scratched up. Like, it doesn't look like a big deal. So it's like showing those things and then letting people know why that's a potential problem. Like, take it a step further. Like, why is that a big deal? And then explain that to them.
So with that, I would say you've got two parties that you're trying to educate with damage. The emotional side. Most of the people we're seeing, even our own students, are avoiding the emotion. Like a damaged roof is scary. Think of yourself as a homeowner. A damaged roof, water comes through, ruins my furniture, ruins my electronics that I spent a lot of money on. Worse, ruins heirlooms, ruins pictures, ruins my freaking life. Dive into the emotion of it. That's the problem. The problem isn't that the roof has a hole in it. That's not the problem to the homeowner, because no homeowner would ever care if they had holes in their roofs if it didn't affect them. If no rain ever came through the holes, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't even need a roof if they, right?
Totally,
no one cares about that. No one cares. What they care about is what the roof does for them. All the things inside their home, their children, their parents, the things that they've invested time and money into. That's what they care about. Go into those things for most of your audience. Most of the people consuming your content and your ads care about that. Then you got the other people who are going to care about the technical side. And this is something that I say to you all the time as we're like creating ads and stuff, is show me the proof. Okay? We made a claim. Now show me the proof. The claim for a roofer is it's going to this damage is going to destroy everything you care about inside your home. Okay, show me the proof. And then you go into this is what the damage looks like and go into detail. You can't take a video of it from 4 or 5 feet away. You got to get right in there so I can see it. I can feel it.
That's such a good point. And as far as home services or construction goes, the roof is a special emotional thing because it's the roof over your head. It protects, like you said, everything you have, your family and everything. So there's an extra kind of emotional feeling around that compared to some other parts of your home or your property. Makes a ton of sense. So we've talked about some of these things like appealing to people's emotions, appealing to the analytical type of person who wants to see those details. Now, for someone who's looking to put this into play, which I hope is everyone watching this, what are the steps that they should take to kind of structure a video to make sure that they're connecting with people in their market?
The first thing they need to do is get people's attention. One of the worst things is people are on their phone and they're just scrolling along, and you've got to stop the scroll. Like, that's the very first thing you got to do, is you've got to get someone's attention. And so we come up with a hook. Like, what's the thing that's going to get them to stop and look? Typically, that's an image. So if you're doing video, you're going to need to craft a thumbnail. You need to have a thumbnail for it. The very first thing that they see, it's got to be eye-catching. Then the second thing they're probably going to see is your headline. So that needs to be something that grabs their attention. It needs to speak to where they're at in their life. There's an old copywriting saying, enter the conversation going on in their mind. So you need to figure out how to do that. And then as they see that picture, they stop. You only have a split second. Like they stop, it's a split second, and then you've got to go a little deeper. But that first thing is attention.
Okay, so we've got someone's attention. That makes a ton of sense. We're hit with so many marketing messages every single day, not only from your competition, but we're just, like Tim said before, we're just inundated with messages from all over the place. So we've got to stop the scroll.
Yes.
So once we got someone's attention, then what do we do?
After we have their attention, they have clicked on our video, they've clicked on the ad for reading more, we've got to have a hook. So the headline, your picture, the thumbnail for your video, those are all about attention. They may actually be the hook also, but it's mostly about attention. Then the next thing is to hook. So there's a great copywriter named Joe Sugarman, and he said the headline's number one purpose is to get the person to read the second line. And the second line's purpose is to get people to read the third line, and so on until they get to the final conclusion, which is to do business with you. That's the whole purpose of copywriting. So the next thing we got to do is have a hook. What is the thing that's going to keep our attention? Why should I keep paying attention to you? What about this message is important to me? You've got to figure out the hook. If you are relying on a giant ball of hail, that's probably not going to work. It'll work the first 2 or 3 times you've done it, but if your market uses it also, if your other competition uses it, it's not going to work at all. It's not going to keep people's attention. Then you're not going to be able to talk about hail damage or any other type of damage because they're not going to respond to it. So you need to find something that's unique that enters that conversation going on in their mind. Good hooks we've seen, financing. Strangely enough, just talking about financing is a pretty good hook because people need their roof replaced, repaired. They don't know how to go about it. They don't know how they're going to afford it. And if you can hook them with, we've got a simple way of solving that problem.
We've seen that work, absolutely. And even for people who don't necessarily need the financing, they might want to hold on to that cash and opt to finance their roof. Just like we finance cars and people finance all sorts of different things, it's no different. So that's definitely a great hook. And I think that what you're getting at is that the hook is not about you. It's not like, look at this roof we did. We took the old roof all the way down to the decking. Like, we kept this property so nice and clean. It's got to be about, like we've been talking about, it's got to be about that conversation that's going on in their head, what they're thinking about, what those pain points are, what they're struggling with. And then how can you connect with them with what they're thinking?
Right. So that goes into a technique we call problem solution bridge. So the way to craft videos, way to craft any type of blog post or any kind of content is, what's the problem? What's the solution to that problem? And then the bridge is the thing that you do that fills the gap between the problem and the solution. So the problem for someone who has a roof that is leaking, or let's go with a little more extreme. A branch fell through their roof. They got a giant gaping hole. That's a big problem. So their solution is get the branch out and repair it so that you can never tell that it was ever damaged. Because I've got a huge problem. If it rains again, it's going to just destroy everything inside my house. That's a massive problem. So the solution is we have a system that repairs tree damaged roofs really fast. Now the bridge is you. Like, how do you go about it? How do you go about getting that solution delivered to them? And so then you have a call to action after that. So you've got to ask them, hey, you need to use us to fulfill that solution. Hopefully that made sense. Like trying to get really into this.
It does make sense. So we've got the hook, we've got the problem, we've got the solution, and then we got the bridge, which is our particular solution, and then the call to action: contact us to do business with us, to let us help you solve that problem.
Right.
And that call to action we see so many times is like free inspection, free estimate, like contact us. Like that's not enticing because people don't. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the solution, and the solution to them is not free estimate, free inspection, especially when everyone else in your market is offering the same exact thing. It's going to do more harm than good because people are just going to lump you into, he's just another roofer. They all look and sound the same, and that's like the worst place you want to be.
Right. I use myself as an example. I'm ready to remodel my home, and I want the roof is definitely one of the things that I want to change. But I've been looking for roofers in my area, and I go to their site and I get no information. I can't make a good buying decision. So roofers will tell you, well, then get a free inspection. Just have us come out, and then we will walk you through the whole thing. It's like, why don't you do that on your website? So that or your content, your videos, things like that, so I can understand the process. And I would rather just make one decision than to have 3 roofers come out at different times, take up, I don't even know how much time they'll take up of my day individually. So I'm paralyzed by lack of information and the fact that I want something easy. I want to make one decision. Most consumers are like that. They don't want 3 estimates. What they want is to be able to get the right decision made. That's all they're really after. So a free inspection, all that tells me is you'll come out and give me a quote, and then what? There's nothing else in it for me.
Absolutely. You mentioned that homeowners, property owners, they don't want to go through the hassle of 3 inspections, or 3 estimates rather. Well, guess what? Roofing companies don't want to be one of 3 estimates. They don't want to do that dog and pony show and try to win that job. They want to be like that go-to roofing company. So no one really wants those 3 estimates, and make it easy for people to buy. Absolutely.
Right. Google did a study a couple of years back where they discovered that buyers make 70% of their buying decision online. So when they call you, in most cases, they've chosen you. But what we see in the trades is that there's not enough information available for someone to be able to make 70% of their buying decision. There's really not even enough to make 30% of your buying decision in most cases. That puts a lot of strain on the consumer, doing business with the industry, not necessarily you, but doing business with the industry is taxing. And it's like, I don't even want to do it. Carvana, if anyone's heard of Carvana, it's essentially you buy a car online, they deliver it to your door. Why is that service even possible? Because going to a dealership is so taxing that people don't want to do it. They would rather pay extra, and it's significantly extra. People would rather pay that much higher fee so that they have 0 hassles.
That makes a ton of sense. Talking about one of my experiences I'm going through right now, desperately looking to get our driveway seal coated. And we moved in a few years ago, and it was just on the list and never got done. I contacted 3 different companies within the past couple of weeks. And I know it's prime busy season, but none of them got back to me. I'm like, man, I'm not going to follow up with them because they don't deserve my business, especially being in this industry. Like, you got to have your stuff together. So I'm like, it might not even get done this year if I can't. Like, I don't want to go out and call a whole bunch of people and try to figure this out and all that. Yep. So there's so much of a service gap to step up, and that's a great exercise for anyone watching this. That most people in your market are making 70% of their decision before they reach out to you. So do you have the proper content and information out there on your website, on your social media platforms for them to first discover you, and then second of all, to learn how to make a smart decision and be able to make that decision for themselves? So do that exercise and it'll put you in a much better position.
Yes, every piece of your content and ads are content. So content ads, they need to make the buying decision easy on the consumer. If you can't do that, if you're unwilling to do that, then someone else is going to take your business.
Absolutely. If you're not willing to innovate, there's someone else out there that is, and you're going to be vulnerable to losing business to them and losing market share to them. All right, so we've uncovered plenty of golden nuggets during this episode for sure, starting with the whole me thing at the beginning and going through mapping out a framework for exactly how to put this into play in your marketing. So all of your marketing should be about your market, not about you. And that's a wrap for today's episode. Don't just listen, don't just watch, go take action on this, implement what you've learned today, and you will have a better business. We'll see you next time.